Hey folks, this is Riker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include Diablo 4 literally wanting to invade your dreams, Star Citizen Squadron 42 coming closer to release, or is it? A modder remaking Skyrim inside Age of Empires 2, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below, but right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. Starting with some Diablo news. Diablo 4 has a free trial running as of now until October 30th. Play is capped at level 20, but presumably you can retain whatever progress you achieve and carry that over if you decide to buy the game thereafter. This free trial is specifically on PC, so if you either missed the open beta back in spring or you want to check out what has changed, if you've been on the fence about the game, give it a try. In other news, we got confirmation that patch 1.2.1 will release before Blizzcon. The patch will release on October 31st. And this is the patch that adds the reset button for the Paragon board, so you don't have to manually undo every single Paragon node. And we're also getting that training dummy. The training dummy can be located in Kyovashad. It's gonna be some kind of a cellar. You go into this underground room, and then you can decide whether it's a single dummy or a group of dummies, and whether they're normal, elite, or bosses. They're unkillable, and this is just a DPS check so that you can try out different build combinations, different gear combinations, and see in practice, without having to do it in a live fire setting, how much damage am I actually doing. It also contains a host of bug fixes. Then in other Diablo news from the week, trading was suspended at some point as a duping exploit became pervasive. So in order to patch the exploit, they just shut down trade altogether, and we're hearing reports now that actions have been taken against accounts. We know of at least one South Korean player who has been banned for abusing of the exploit. Then in other news, early this week, we had a breakthrough in the hunt for the secret cow level. We first spoke about the secret cow level and the hunt for it a few months ago. I believe it was even before Season 1. Where there's an entire Discord server of data miners and puzzle solvers, and just there's this awesome community of people trying to figure out Diablo 4's secret cow level. And between data mined assets and testing things out in game, it was discovered that there were 3 different doodads that you had to get as drops and then do something with them, and there was a lot of theory crafting and speculation. But at the time, the hunt dried up when the community ultimately resolved that whatever next step needed to happen was out of their control and probably wasn't implemented in the game yet. That some flag in the game settings had to be enabled in order for whatever next step needed to be solvable. And it seems that with the launch of Season 2, we did get that next step added in. So what was discovered was that if you go around the world killing cows, just the regular cows, those innocent animals, once you have killed 666 of them, then one of those special doodad items drops. There are 3 of these items, and depending on where you get your last cow kill, the 666th, that'll determine which of the 3 items drops. So whatever region you're in, each one is associated with one of the 3 doodads. Here's the catch though, you can only get 1 doodad per week. So once you've gotten one of the doodads to drop, a timer starts. Your character is now on a 1-week cooldown before you can farm cows again. You can make another character and farm it on a different character. You can also freely trade these doodads with other players, but you can't just take your same character and keep farming these all up within one afternoon. Once you get these 3 doodads, you then go purify them in the fountain in Kedbardu, which was previously speculated about, and from that, you get a key. And this key then opens the Forlorn Hovel. Again, this was all previously data mined, we just couldn't actually do it. And once you have unlocked the hovel, that hovel remains unlocked for your character forever. You can always then go into that region. And inside of that, you'll find 28 cows. Once you kill those 28 cows therein, a dried up stamina potion drops. And this is where the community is stuck once again. Now it seems consuming this potion gives some kind of buff. What does it do? No one knows. But this is where we are. I personally suspect that it's going to be Season 3 before we can get on to the next step, but it is possible, just no one has figured out what to do once you get this stamina potion buff, or is there a specific place that you need to drink this potion? It's certainly been interesting developments, but I fear that it's going to be another 3 months before we get another update here. Then in other news that broke late last week, Blizzard's doing an interesting giveaway. So they have this event going, and people need to donate blood. Not to Blizzard, but to to places that you would normally donate blood. And if you then provide proof that you've donated blood, this will contribute towards some kind of global blood drive that Blizzard is running. They're trying to collect 666 quarts of blood. As the blood drive reaches different goals along its way to full completion, cosmetic rewards are unlocked for the entire community. And if the goal is met of 666 quarts, then a sweepstake will be open for a giveaway of this mega powerful gaming PC that is allegedly liquid cooled with real human blood. Now, only players in the US can contribute blood, and only players in the US can win the PC. You don't have to have contributed blood to win the PC, but the total goal of 666 quarts needs to have been reached before anyone is allowed to enter the sweepstakes. Now, I know in general when there are these events that are only for US citizens, it does cause some kerfuffles in the international communities. I'm from Canada. I know some people are like, well, you're American. I'm Canadian. But what I really like about how they handle this event is that even those of us not in America, we still benefit from getting those cosmetic unlocks. We can't participate, we can't contribute blood, but we can encourage others to contribute blood, and it's all for a good cause. Recently, blood donations have actually been on the decline. I believe there's a national blood shortage. So they're doing something for a good cause, everyone is getting free cosmetics, and one lucky person is getting some kind of Uber PC. As of the time of this recording, we're over halfway to that goal of 666 quarts. I think that takes about a bit over 1,000 blood donations. More like 1,200, 1,300. I think one blood donation is about half a quart. And there's still plenty of time. November 20th is when this ends. In other news, Diablo 4 game director Joe Shelley has announced that they have no plans to nerf anything during this season in Diablo 4. And while this was posted on Twitter, he wasn't responding to anyone specifically, but he was certainly cognizant of the broken builds or overpowered things that have emerged since the season started. I just released a video on the top 10 best builds of Diablo 4. The number 1 build is something that is so overpowered, everyone thought it would get nerfed, so Joe Shelley came out and said basically, no, we're not nerfing it, don't worry. His exact words were, "We're glad players are having fun in Diablo 4 Season of Blood and have no plans to nerf it." Then in other Diablo news, the team is running a Nightmare Fuel event. They worked with dream therapist Dr. Leslie Ellis to put together this video experience on YouTube and Spotify that my understanding is meant to guide you into a Diablo nightmare that you can take control of in the form of lucid dreaming. I didn't have time to listen to the entire 8 hours of it, but lucid dreaming is pretty cool. It's something I used to do as a kid. So as a kid, I had night terrors. I would have a nightmare so real and visceral that I would like jolt awake. Normally people who have night terrors wake up screaming. I'm not a screamer, so I would like bolt out of bed, just sheer panic. And over time, I learned to recognize when I was in a nightmare and then take control of it. So I did experience a brief moment of having lucid dreams as a kid before my subconscious learned to counteract that by making my nightmares more subversive. They would be less obviously nightmarish scenarios to keep me not cognizant of the fact that I was in a nightmare. But yeah, if anyone is interested in attempting to harness the power of your own dreams and take control of the nightmare, give it a try, report back your findings, let me know if it works for you. In other Diablo news, we've got some Diablo webtoons. Webtoons are South Korean webcomics, basically, designed to be read on phones. And it's the 6th installment series created by acclaimed webtoon author Jo Seok, which was originally published in Korean and has now been brought to the West. Feel free to check those out, link in the description. In other Diablo news, and I guess just general Blizzard news, Blizzcon is next weekend, November 3rd and 4th. I will be in attendance at Blizzcon, so no news video next week. You can expect at least one video from me on whatever news breaks about BlizzCon, but it's going to be a BlizzCon specific video. I'll also be live streaming from BlizzCon. Blizzard invited me over, and some other streamers as well, to stream at BlizzCon whatever content that there is going to be to stream. We've been speculating for a few weeks now that it's going to be the next expansion, or the first expansion rather. Could also maybe be a teaser of Season 3, who knows. Blizzard's also going to have some meet and greet booths with us, so if you're attending BlizzCon, do come by, say hello to me. Always happy to meet the folks. Other Diablo events at BlizzCon will be the ability to get a tattoo, like a real tattoo. You can also get a temporary tattoo. There'll be developer signing opportunities. There's going to be a tarot card reader. I like the occult theme. Various photo ops. There's going to be a Museum of Sanctuary where they're probably going to have a bunch of art and props to look at. There's also going to be some kind of Mountain Dew scavenger hunt. You find all the cans, you can enter a giveaway to win a little statue. But the star attraction seems to be a campfire chat on November 4th that's going to take place between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. In this campfire chat, we're going to have Joe Shelley, Associate Game Director Brent Gibson, Production Director Tiffany Watt, and Lead Game Producer Kaylee Calder, and Adam Fletcher talking about what's next for D4. And this campfire chat will also be streamed for those of you tuning in virtually. And lastly, in Diablo news, Carbot has released another episode of his Diablo series, this one all about the Butcher, and it's once again delightfully hilarious. Then in some quick Microsoft news, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has gone and said in an interview with Business Insider, quote, "We're looking forward to really doubling down both as a game producer and a publisher." Well, I certainly hope that they didn't just spend $69 billion to buy Activision Blizzard to not make more games, so good. Now, one of the major stories of the week was Squadron 42 coming out of nowhere with some absolutely mind-blowing footage. Some of you might not recognize the name Squadron 42, but you probably do recognize the name Star Citizen, that Kickstarter from a million years ago that raised enough money to make King Midas blush over the years, that has just not released and has become a joke that it's never going to release. And Squadron 42 was a part of that package. Squadron 42 was, and is rather, it's a single player campaign. It's meant to be something of a vertical slice of Star Citizen. It's set within the same universe, but it's a single player campaign, a smaller scale game, and the idea was to get that out first and basically use additional funding thereafter to complete Star Citizen. And it's a game that has been pushed back and 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 pushed back probably that many times. But now we've gotten the most clear view of the game, of what is coming close to a finished product. And with this footage, the devs have announced that the game is now feature complete and is undergoing final polish, though they did not give a release date. And the game has an impressive cast of Hollywood actors who are not just lending their voices to the game, but their likeness as well. We have Gary Oldman, Mark Hamill, Mark Strong, John Rhys Davies, Ben Mendelsohn, Gillian Anderson, Andy Serkis, Liam Cunningham, Henry Cavill, and more. And I have to say, it was a little bizarre for me to see these actors in-game as themselves. Like, it's one thing to just lend your voice, right? I mean, like Mark Hamill, for instance, a terrific voice actor, for those who don't know. But he's not just... It's like when you see a Hollywood actor in a video game as themselves. I mean, they did it with Keanu Reeves, right, in Cyberpunk. It kind of takes you out of it, because it's like, okay, well, that's Mark Hamill playing General so-and-so. I don't know, I feel weird about it. Like, it's cool. I like it. I think seeing this all-star cast, I mean, clearly all that money has gone, it's gone somewhere, it's been put to good use, getting all this talent on screen together virtually. But there is, for me at least, some kind of odd, uncanny valley thing happening. That aside, again, the game looks phenomenal, the acting is phenomenal. But before we get too excited, it was in 2016 that Chris Roberts had gone and said that, hey, Squadron 42, all the chapters are done, all the features are done, or sorry, all the features are at least gray box, but they needed more time to polish. And the fact that we're still not getting a release date, could be we're still a couple years out, and, you know, people getting excited for, oh, Star Citizen might actually release. they've effectively, I'm not going to say paused, but slowed down Star Citizen development to finish Squadron 42. Once that's done, all resources will be put back to Star Citizen, but I imagine Star Citizen is at least another 5 to 10 years away. Now, I should clarify, I was not a backer of Star Citizen. I've always been someone very skeptical of them actually producing a finalized product. I would be thrilled if Squadron 42 and Star Citizen released to be basically the best games ever made. If they can execute everything that they promised, they will push the envelope of the gaming landscape further than any company ever has. And as someone who's largely rolled my eyes for the past decade, I'm having some optimism here. I'm one of the people that thought that this would amount to nothing but vaporware, so I will happily eat crow if it means we get one of the best gaming experiences ever. And speaking of great games, Alan Wake 2 has released to great reviews. On OpenCritic, it's got an 89 average score with 92% of critics recommending it. For a horror game, that's big. Horror, both in Hollywood and in video games, is a genre that tends to not review particularly well. Partially, it's just because there's a lot of bad horror, and it's also because critics just don't always really like horror. Horror is something very, very specific, and it's not for everyone. But for the praise here to be so universal is truly a testament to how good of a game Alan Wake 2 is. The first Alan Wake released in 2010, so this is a sequel long in the making, and it's a series that has nailed American horror so well. If you're a Stephen King fan, you're gonna like this. In a year that's already filled with a number of Game of the Year contenders, here's another one. This has been a really good year for games. And speaking of really good games, Path of Exile has celebrated its 10-year anniversary this week. 10 years since its official 1.0.0 launch. It was in beta for some time before that, but it's a game that has been just a remarkable success story that has built up over time. It still gets tens of thousands of concurrent players on a daily basis. It's just kept growing and growing over the years, continuing to break concurrent player records. And of course, this is all leading up to the release of Path of Exile 2, whose beta will begin next summer. Meanwhile, we know that next expansion for PoE is going to be a big one. I believe that's set for a December launch, and in the meantime, for November, they're running 3 separate Path of Exile events. The first is Crangled Passives. I love it. With this event, the passive tree and the ascendancy trees are all jumbled. So minor passive skills, notables, keystones, and minor ascendancy skills and major ascendancy skills have all been internally scrambled within those categories. So you can't build in your same standard way. That'll start on November 3rd and run 7 days. Then there's a Blast from the Past event starting on November 7th, running for 7 days. And this is where almost every area in the game will have both the Sentinel and the Lake of Kalandra mechanics active. And then the third event, beginning on November 17th, will have each area you encounter have a League mechanic in it that is enhanced by a corresponding Atlas keystone. And as usual, all these events have prizes. In other news, we got this week a first in-engine look at Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. This is on the new Unreal Engine 5. It's a remake of the original 2004 game, and based on what we're seeing here, it seems like they're sticking with the original level design, but adapting the game for gameplay that's a little closer to some of the more recent installments in the franchise. But damn, some of that wildlife looks incredibly real. Unreal Engine, geez, well, yeah, real or unreal, that engine is being put to work. Then on our last story, one intrepid modder has gone ahead and remade Skyrim inside Age of Empires 2. He estimates he's put in at least 400 hours of work over the past year, with 50 hours just in the last 2 weeks alone. Honestly, I imagine it's more than 400. He's probably just lost count. He had to make 100 unique characters, build up 50 working quests, and you can play as one of the holds that is vying for control of Skyrim. It can be played in 8 players, and 1 player gets to control the Dragonborn and level them up. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I love modding, I love modders. There's just such a purity to someone working on something for no profit and no gain, just out of the sheer love of it. And if any of you have Age of Empires 2, I encourage you to try out this mod, report back, how is it? Because that's gonna wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video in which we spoke about what we expect the worst game of 2023 to be. Thanks for watching, special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.